Alright, welcome to the warm-up for 0-5 step functions. We've got just a few things to cover, nothing really new today. Starting with the f of x. Remember that is the same thing as y. Put a box around it, not an underline. So if it says that f of x equals 30, that's the same thing as y equals 30. So find x when y equals 30. So we can plug that in. 30 equals negative 5x plus 18. Subtract 18. So we've got 12 equals negative 5x. Divide by negative 5. And we're left with negative 2.4 equals x. Main difference with an f of x equals 30 versus an f of negative 2. With the f of x equals 30, you don't know x. When you're evaluating f of negative 2, you do know x. So negative 2, plug that in, and then just do the math. And there it is. So in the last few days, we've been working on piecewise functions. Today we're going to do step functions, which are just another type of piecewise function. So a couple parts to it. There's the equation of the line and its domain. So the equation, I'm not sure where that cut off. The equation tells you where your line is. The domain tells you where to stop and start it. So if I look at my flat horizontal line over here, we have an equation of y equals 1. That's my full equation for that line. My equation for the second part of the line of a y-intercept of 0, a slope of 1 over 1. So my equation here is y equals 1x plus 0. You can also write that as y equals x. So that's part of my function. I put the f of x equals 1. And then for the other one, I put x. So I'm just putting this part of my equation because the f of x takes care of that y equals. Then I have its domain. So if I look at this x value right here, this is where the y equals 1 stops and where the y equals x starts. So that's how I put my domain. Everything from here over, x is less than or equal to negative 2 because of that filled in circle. So that's the domain part. X is less than or equal to negative 2. And for the other one, everything this way, x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So that's what I put for my domain there. I can also write that as negative 2 is less than or equal to x, depending on which way I'm more comfortable. Step function, which is this graph right here, is just another piecewise function that has 0 slopes. So all my equations are just going to be numbers. So I've got f of x equals, f of x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then it's just a matter of finding the domains. So I have boundaries at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's where I'm going to get my domains from. The first one, where y equals 1, my domain goes from 0 to 1 with x in between. So x is greater than or equal to 0, but less than 1. For y equals 2, 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 2. For y equals 3, 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 3. For y equals 4, 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 4. And for 5, I have 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 5. They don't always go in consecutive order. This time it was nice and simple that way. So graphing them, each of these represents a flat horizontal line, and it's just going to be a segment because of my domain restrictions. So if I put in my domain restrictions from these numbers, I'm going to put in my vertical lines, which is not required, but it's helpful for a lot of people, at -6, -4, -2, 0, and +4. And that's going to help me know where to start and stop my little line segments. So this first one, y = 1, I'm going to be right here, and I need a closed circle over here, open circle over here. For the next one, y = 2, I'm going to go up a step, again, closed circle, open circle. For 3, I go up a step, closed, open, so on and so forth. And then for the last one, it jumps up to y = 7 and goes out to infinity because there is no second boundary on that one. So the last thing you need to be able to do is to define a piecewise function, or sorry, the step function, both of them actually, for highly proficient. And that comes with, or that is a matter of, I apologize for the background music, my kids are listening to Trolls. So finding your domains based on where each parts of the graph starts and ends. And using, when it's flat, just using that y value right there to find the equation. So we got f of x equals, that first one is 5. And its boundaries go from -6 to -3, x being between them, greater than or equal to, and greater than, sorry, x is greater than or equal to -6 and less than -3. So that one is -6 is less than or equal to x, which is less than -3. So the next one is at +3, and that goes from -3 to 0. So -3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 3. Now we're at 1. So we've got 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 3. Oh, no, I gotta go back. So right here, where I just erased, I had written 3, and I meant to write 0, so I apologize for that confusion. And then the very last one, -1, goes from 3, which is less than or equal to x, which is less than 6. So, apologize for that quick and hasty explanation, but I told people I would get this up, and I didn't get it done during the day. Keep in mind a couple things, flat horizontal line or line segment, anything like that, is going to have a y equals, equals a number with no x's in the equation. The x's only come into play when we're talking about our domain. And that just tells you where to start and where to end. Or where to start or where to end. So sometimes both. So things you need to know for your upcoming test. Piecewise functions, to get your proficiency level, you need to graph a 3-part piecewise function. So it'll be given the equations and the domains, you need to graph it. To get the highly proficient, you need to do the proficiency level as well as the highly proficient. For highly proficient, you need to be able to define. So that's what we were doing with the f of x equals, finding the equation, and then finding the domain. So remember, to get the 4, you have to do both the 3 and the 4 level with little or no mistakes. And the mistakes have to be minor, not specific to the skill that we're testing here. Step function, for proficiency level, you need to be able to graph a step function. To get a 4 on that, you need to be able to define a step function given a word problem. And we haven't done that particular, we haven't done any practice with that, but that's sometimes what happens with a highly proficient, is working to stretch your thinking on the material that we've been doing. So that is that for this particular section and Unit 0. So hope that helped, and I will be posting some explanation key to the review hopefully by Sunday. Have a good one.